Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and
Randy.
And we are
the Happy, Healthy Guys.
Have you ever wondered, what is it that's holding me back from being able to have the health that I really want? Or have you ever wondered why it is that some people, as they're aging so gracefully and they're aging better than I am. Their face looks great. They've got these athletic bodies. They're fit. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here struggling, wondering what in the world is wrong with me. We're going to be talking about how to be able to overcome that so you can be living that happier, healthier life like the people that you see around you. So if you've ever had that thought, how do I do that? We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to be talking about what it is that we were doing this last weekend over in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and the takeaways from that. So I think that's a great place for us to start. What in the world were we doing in Florida this last weekend?
That's a great segue. Yeah, we were actually down for, it's one of our mastermind events that we do 4 times a year, but this one was a little more unique just because it was really kind of almost like the official launch of the Maha Movement with now our friend, y'all's friend, for a lot of you who know him, Dale Bigtree, now being the CEO of the Make America Healthy Again movement, which is not a partisan movement. That should be all of our desires, is to be as happy and as healthy as we can possibly be. Obviously, Rob and I have coined Make America H2 again, MAH2A, happy, healthy again. But the point is, it was incredible to be around some of the key leaders in the world, but specifically people that are committed to wanting to help make sure that people regain their health, prevent sickness and disease, and turn this chronic disease epidemic around. And I'm excited to be a part of it. And the beautiful part of the Maha movement and what we were doing there, it's really not a movement for just a few elite people. We're all a part of this movement. It is a top down, but it's more of a bottom up movement where we really commit again to believing that, hey, health is the normal, and that sickness and disease and all the things that we suffer with, those aren't things that really should be happening, and that those things are now going to be in the distant past. We're moving forward, we're making changes. But that's really, I think, what today is about, Dr. Rob, is not even just being there. It's one thing to be there. It's one thing to have information. They say knowledge is power. That's not true. It's the application of anything that you learn that really makes the change. Why is it? Because a lot of people maybe even know some things they should be doing, or know they want to be healthier, or agree with making America and really the world healthy again. But why do so many people get stuck? Today, we're going to help people break through and maybe find out, why are you making the excuses that you're making to not take charge of your life and be your happiest, healthiest version?
Yeah, I gotta admit, I mean, just humbly speaking, is that just to be able to be invited to be in that room this last weekend, because it is invitation only, and we're talking about people who are the leaders of the leaders of the leaders in their industries when it comes to this holistic health and wellness space. I mean, there were people there that literally billionaires talking about how to be able to really help the entire planet be happier and healthier, utilizing things like blockchain, which are things that I had never even heard of before. Not going to be a conversation about that today.
Thank
However,
God.
yeah, because it was like literally just really expanding my mind in how it is that we are going to be able to really, and what they were talking about with the blockchain was really being able to make sure that the with this day and age of the internet, and information being literally like shared with everybody on the face of the planet. Because the reality is, like, even us being on a Zoom right now means that, when we enter for our personal information in there, we don't actually own it. It's
Exactly.
owned
Yeah.
by Zoom, but how
Yeah.
blockchain is going to allow us when it comes to our health information to truly own our health information. Because if you've ever been to a doctor before, and we're not recommending doing that, but if you've ever been to a doctor
Definitely not.
and they've got all of your health information there, well, they actually own that health information.
Yeah.
The government, because of HIPAA, owns that information. You don't actually even own that information. If you tried to get everything back, it's really hard to be able to get that information back. So blockchain is really changing the way we do that. It's really going to change the landscape of that. So it was really humbling to be literally sitting across from people, having dinner, who were way smarter or way smarter than me in different,
You could throw me in there in that as
different
well.
applications. I wasn't going to throw you in there, but
Include me.
but here's what I did learn about that is where God really has put us into a place right now, myself and Dr. Randy here with Happy Healthy, put us into a place really for a purpose. Because the one thing that I can say that we were the smartest people in the room is when it comes to being able to restore people's metabolic health,
Yeah.
to be able to help people get metabolically healthy. One of the things that we went through with the whole entire group there was all of the causes of chronic disease, and then how to be able to help people overcome chronic disease. And it was interesting because when they were going through the list of those things, whether it be toxins from the foods that are going to our bodies, whether it be lack of movement for people, or people not getting enough vitamin D, creating chronic illness and disease. And I'm like, wow, those are all things that they're talking about as far as what the problem is. The solution is everything that we teach. Our programs are the solution to all the things that they were talking about when it came to chronic illness, because as we teach people and as we know and as we have learned, which we didn't really understand before, now we absolutely do, is how all chronic diseases live downstream of poor metabolic health. And we're able to help people to be able to solve that problem. Even being in that room, it's interesting because when it comes to getting help from metabolism, even though they're talking about the problem, is all of the experts that were there in that room, when it comes to getting themselves metabolically healthy, who are the people that they ask to help them with getting metabolically healthy?
You're looking at them.
Yeah, it's us.
Yeah, and that's where I felt really comfortable in the conversations. I'm no blockchain expert or know all of it, everything to know about tokens and nodes and all this type of strategies and where everything is moving. But the one thing that I do feel very comfortable in, and you and I both, is when we start talking about what real health is all about. And that's where the foundation of health has to come from a place of not treating disease. A lot of times you can have controlled opposition where people move out of a medical model into maybe a more holistic model, but they're still focused on treating the same problems versus really laying a brand new foundation. And so I love our background, our stories, what we've overcome, and our solid foundation on real actual health and what that really means. In fact, it was interesting. I told you this story. I'll tell everybody listening today. I was walking on the beach there. I believe it was I guess this was Sunday after the event was over.
That was actually yesterday. It was Monday.
I wasn't okay. Yeah, the days are running together. It was yesterday. It was Monday. Wow, it's crazy how world is small. No question about it. So yeah, yesterday morning, just during my morning time, my sun gazing and getting my feet on the ground. And anytime I've got access to an ocean and a beach, I'm going to be on it. Really just trying to get my body reconnected back to nature and all those amazing frequencies that God gave us. But I was walking and I walked past this lady and she was staring me down. And as I passed her, I hear her start yelling, hey, sir, can I ask you a question? And so I'm assuming it's me because there weren't a lot of people on the beach that morning. And I turn around and go back to talk to her. And she goes, hey, do you mind if I ask you a question? I'm like, well, sure. What's going on? She goes, I saw you walking up and, and I was like, this is pretty cool. She goes, and you're in really great shape. And I'm here in Miami and I'm from Switzerland. My name is, I'll give her name, Claudia. If you're listening, Claudia, to the podcast, which I know you followed us, shout out to you. But she goes, I'm here in Miami. I'm seeing all these people, a lot of people who look really healthy and fit. And I see you walking by. But she goes, I hadn't really asked anybody what they're doing. But when you were walking up, I felt like I wanted to ask you what is that you're doing to be in great shape because you felt you look healthy. And I was like, well, wow, thank you, Cloudy, for the compliment. And I started talking to her a little about health and what we do in metabolism and happy, healthy and the Maha movement. And she basically was like, I've been praying that God would put people in my life to help guide and navigate me and my family towards health again. And for whatever reason, God said, ask this man. And so I was like, obviously humbled, very flattered. But at the same time, I'm like, there's a lot more Claudias out there. And she's all the way over in Switzerland. There's a lot of Claudias that are asking and praying and seeking and wanting help because they just don't know what to do. And when I was breaking down our philosophy of health and how we approach health, it was so simple to her. And so now we have a new follower all the way over from Switzerland, and we're here to support her. But there's a lot of these Claudias, and I tell the story because for all of us, how we live our life, we can say one thing, but people are really watching what we do and how we live and how we carry ourselves, our countenance, our energy. It was no coincidence coming out of a 3-4 day mastermind event with some key people from in the Maha space and really living and vibrating at that level that we all become more attractive to the people who are really hurting and are looking for answers. So don't ever doubt the impact that you get to make when you are able to take that step and start living your best life and knowing that happy and healthy really is really what God has for all of us. Do you believe that? And if you don't believe that, that's step number one. But step number two, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, and that goes into one of the things, one of my takeaways in there was they were talking about right now, they say this whole entire time in on the planet has been like the information age, but how when it comes to being online, how it's really being done in phases. The first phase of it was, okay, it was all about information.
Yeah.
You could Google and you could get information on literally anything. And then the second wave was the platform wave of it. The platform being the Facebooks, the YouTubes, the Instagram, the TikToks, where now they're utilizing that for the collection of data, right? And so it's like the data collection era. And so they can be able to then monetize that. And then the next phase, which was where we're heading into, which is what I really love, is the ownership phase, is where we're going to be able to own our own data, but also help to be able to take back control of our own health and be the CEOs of our own health. And that's why they were talking about the blockchain. But specifically, it was interesting because they were talking about how to be also able to help these farmers be able to take control back of their farms, which is important to us when it comes to the food that we're eating, right? The, whether the fruits, the vegetables, all those things that we're eating, because right now those farmers, they don't have control. It's under control of the
people don't even know that.
Yeah,
though.
people don't realize
They have
that.
no idea. A lot of people, now a lot of our audience probably does, but
Yeah.
they don't have control.
They don't have control. So you go into the grocery store and the fruits that they're selling, the vegetables that they're selling, the meats that they're selling, well, they can only sell those things based on the regulations that have been put in place by the government that actually controls exactly what it is that they're doing. The fertilizers that they're putting on there, the pesticides, all of the crap that's being put on there. So you can see what's a really messy, evil web, especially when you see that it's big pharma that really owns that whole entire thing. And so it literally is just like it's a closed loop inside there where we can't control that. Their goal is that you would become sicker and sicker and sicker, right? The powers that be, so that you can spend more and more money in pharma. and big pharma, because that right there is the industry right there. Right there, there's the loudest voice in Washington D.C. and makes the most money. So the cool thing is we're changing that. We're taking control back of that, giving the control back to the farmers. And the only way that happens is that people like you who are listening to this is they start making better choices.
Yes.
Okay, better choices when it comes to what you're putting into your body, who it is that you're purchasing your food from, because when that starts speaking very loudly, it's going to force that change. And that's where we're at right now. And so it's like the literal grassroots movement now. And
It's
thank
the only way
goodness.
anything ever changes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so thank goodness for Bobby Kennedy, and fingers crossed. He hasn't been sworn in yet. Something
Not
that I'm,
confirmed, I don't think.
I've learned more about how this stuff actually happens than I ever cared about knowing. Not a political type of a person, but yeah. So they had one of the votes was last week, which was the vote was 14-13. He won by one vote, only because the Republicans actually are the majority there. So all 13 of the Democrats voted against him. All 14 of the Republicans voted for him. And here's what's even crazier. You had Democrats that were arguing on the side of Bobby, where they were like, yeah, we don't understand why in the world would we want to put poisons onto the foods that we're giving to people? Why would we want to do these things? And still voted opposing him, just because they were so
It's hard to believe all the hippies are now voting to have the government control our food and poison
all
us.
the mom hippies.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that's the party that we see now. Once again, we're not really political, but this is not a partisan issue at all. This is about our health and our future, and really, at the heart of Bobby. And we know that this is all about this next generation of children. What are we leaving for them? What is their life going to be like when now, it's not just that American adults are chronically sick, it's our children are chronically sick and obese and medicated and all the other conditions that are out there. They're suffering the most. That is not normal. We can no longer just blame it on bad genetics or some rare condition. Our children are strategically being poisoned. So this is why it's so important, like you said, Dr. Rob, that all of us take full responsibility to change our own life and create the demand. When we decide that we're no longer going to partake in this system and that we demand change, then it will change, which has always been our message about really smoking out victim consciousness. We're not victims, we are victors. God made us in his image from the beginning. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We have an amazing ability to heal. We don't even appreciate the body that God gave us and what it's capable of. So that's where today, let's give some people some things to figure out how they can do something about this and take that responsibility.
Yeah, so let's talk about the limiting beliefs that people do have. And most of you don't, think that the beliefs that you have are limiting beliefs, but the reality is that they can be limiting, or they can be literally catapulting you into your future. So some of the biggest limiting beliefs that we see from people fall into one of these different categories. One of them being the belief that you could say, you know what, I don't have time for my health. And that's something, even as we were talking to people at this event, and nothing against the people there are beautiful people, but there are many of the folks even who were there that are like, you know what? I travel all the time. I'm at events like this all the time. I don't have the time to be able to be healthy, which is a limiting belief. And the problem with that is because of the neurology of how that actually works, and how our brains are wired. You have this thing in your brain that's called your amygdala. That's the one that tells the left side, your factual side of your brain. That's what is there to be able to protect you and to keep you comfortable and in comfort. So that's the side of the brain that's like, your alarm goes off in the morning, right? Your phone, however you wake up in the morning, but it's going off in the morning. You know that you need to get up, and that's the one that starts negotiating. It's like, hey, you know what? You don't need to get up early today. You deserve to stay in bed today. You've worked really hard. It's been a long week. You can stay in bed today, and or if you were planning on getting up early so that you could be able to go work out, it's the one that's saying, hey, you can work out later today. Let's go ahead and sleep in an extra 15 minutes. And so that's that one as far as the whole time thing goes, right? And so it's almost like it's sitting in front of in a courtroom, right? As the person that's being cross-examined by, the opposing attorney, and the attorney's going, okay, so why is it that you're staying in bed? And it's now you're trying to convince the jury as to why all of those reasons are there to be able to keep you in bed. But that's also the same belief that's keeping you from being healthy, because if you look on the other side of that, you may have been this person before. I knew, like, as a kid, I was for my mom. It was hard for my mom to wake me up in the morning. But when I was ready to get up first thing in the morning is when we were going to, and this is going to date me, way back when, but when we were going to Astro World.
Whoa,
So
Astro World.
Astro
Yeah.
World.
If you live in Texas, you definitely know Astro World.
You know Astro
Yeah.
World, right? It's where, the
And grew up in
Astrodome
the
was, where
70s. Sorry,
AstroTurf
Rob.
came from. Yeah, I did. And so we lived about 3.5 hours away in San Antonio, Texas. Astro World's in Houston. And when my mom said, hey, it's time for you to get up, and we were driving from San Antonio all the way to Houston at 5 a.m. in the morning, jump in the car. You know what? I was like up. I was ready to go because we were going to Astro World, right? So I had a reason to be able to get up. But the only reason that I bring that up is because really my belief system wouldn't be that I don't have time. It's I just don't have enough reasons why it's important to actually get up to work out, because that's going to be hard for me to be able to do, right? So it wants to keep you in comfort, or wants to keep you having fun. And so therein lies the fact that, you know what? No, that's a limiting belief, because I do have the ability to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning because I've done it in the past. So that would be my argument on the other side of it. Yes, I can be able to get up because I've done it in the past. And it's not just for Astroworld, but I know you and I have done it to be able to go play golf, for example, in the morning. We've got up super early in order to be able to go play
No
play golf.
complaints, right?
Right. So it's really, what is the story that you're telling yourself that's reinforcing that limiting belief?
Yeah.
Because that limiting belief, I get, if you're being self-aware and you're being honest with yourself, you have to ask yourself, okay, why is this limiting belief serving me right now? So let's go to these, folks, let's say, for example, at this event that we were at, that say, I don't have the time. Them utilizing that as a limiting belief has to be serving them in some capacity. So think about that for yourself. What's the limiting belief that you have, right? That's keeping you from being able to achieve the health that you want, from keeping you from being able to lose the weight that you want. It's serving you in some kind of capacity. So let's say somebody says, okay, I'm at this conference. I don't have the time that it's going to take. How is that serving that person? What are some reasons that could be serving? Well, it's serving them because now if they don't have time, it's a very convenient excuse, and now it makes it okay for them to not do it.
And you'll hear this a lot. If you ever hear yourself doing this, you're busted. It's when it's not only that you're limiting belief, you're telling yourself, you're now telling everybody else about your limiting belief. It's almost if you're trying to recruit them over to your side to agree with your limiting belief to make you feel really good about it. It's like you were talking about with the jury. The jury's hearing your story, yet the jury just heard all the facts. And all the facts say that your story doesn't make any sense. So the ultimate level of delusion is when your limiting beliefs, you start telling everybody else about that limiting belief, like, I don't have the time. Because what you want to hear is, yeah, I know, right? It's really hard because we're all really busy, and who's really got time for that, to make them feel good or to make you feel good about the fact that you've established this excuse, which really, that's, if we're honest, right? If you are self-aware, what is a limiting belief? It is. It's a disqualifier. You've placed a disqualifier into your life that is keeping you from taking action. And a lot of times it's not just one, it's multiple disqualifiers, which almost creates a scenario where you have to have the perfect environment before you take action. And what do we know about having a perfect environment before you take action, Dr. Rob?
There is no such thing as ever having the perfect environment,
Yeah, it's
right?
the person building, the perfect fire is the one who freezes to death, right? There is no perfect environment. So going back to what you're saying, we hear the time one all the time, but the truth is that the fact that you're busy is the reason that you should be taking action, not the reason that you shouldn't be taking action. If you look at every single limiting belief that you tell yourself and that you tell others and all the recruiting pitches that you're throwing out there to bring people onto your side, if you're honest with yourself, the reason you think that you shouldn't do it is the 100% number one reason why you should.
Yeah, and I know, and I'm speaking from personal experience. If you've heard me talk about this most recently, where there were some things that I knew that I needed to give up that were blocking me from being able to really be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
So talking about the time, one of those being social media. And so I've been on this social media fast, which was going to be for 21 days. And I decided, you know what, I'm not ready to have enough self-control to be able to go back to it. So I think like around the 21 days, I think I posted something about my son and his first single coming out. And then after that, I got back off because I noticed I'm like, crap, I'm starting to go scroll through there again. I'm like, I'm not ready. And so I didn't. So now what happened, because I haven't been on there, I thought this was interesting. If you've got an iPhone, every Sunday morning, what pops up on your iPhone?
The amount of time you've been on, yeah,
The
on your
amount of
phone.
time that you've
Yeah.
been on,
Yeah.
right? So my screen time went down by 2.5 hours a day just by
Yeah.
getting off of social media.
Yeah.
So did I have time to put into being healthy? You better believe it. 2.5 extra hours
Yeah.
of time that I
Yeah.
had in
Yeah.
order to be able to dedicate to doing something that was productive for my health. So time was just an excuse, and that was an excuse for me to, pacify something else, right? Utilizing the screen stuff in there. So time is, yeah, like you said, it shouldn't be a limiting belief. It's nothing more than an excuse. So you need to change the story that you're telling yourself to be able to overcome that one right there. And the reality is, yeah, I had plenty of time to, while we were even there, to be able to do whatever it is that I wanted, to be able to research, okay, what are the restaurants around here? What kind of foods do they have?
Right.
And so there you go. So another one could be, okay, if I'm traveling, this could be a limiting belief. If I'm traveling, then it makes it harder because then if I'm at a hotel and traveling for work or traveling for business, then that hotel probably isn't going to prepare foods the way that I would prepare it at home. So the limiting belief is I'm just going to go ahead and eat the best that I can while I'm there.
Yeah, that's a good one. And the truth of that is, it's so easy now in today's day and age to actually request foods the way you want them prepared. Case in point, we just were gone traveling for 4 days, staying in different hotels around different places where you get food. And every place that we went, we asked them to prepare foods a certain way. One of the things that we requested was to make sure that we have a seed oil allergy and to make sure any food that comes out has no seed oil. And what did every single server, chef, and wait staff do for us?
Yeah, no Cito, no questions asked. It used to
Yeah.
be that the chef may actually even come out, ask, hey, will you die? It doesn't even happen anymore because so many people are requesting this, which I absolutely love. And there are still some people, and we've seen it even being out to eat with different people who are afraid to be able to do that because they don't want, I guess, the server to, think negatively about them because they asked or they didn't want to impose or whatever. So I love it too, because just while we're there, everybody else is just like, hey, we're going to eat whatever it is that they eat. And also just to say, like you were saying, is you'll have, trying to convince then the jury to come onto your
Yeah.
side we'll even have people go, "Are you sure you don't want to try this or taste this?
Right.
You sure you don't want a little bit of bitty bite of this?" And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely. I'm positive. I don't, I don't want that. I don't need to eat it. I have no desire to do that."
Yep.
And I think that comes into another limiting belief as I'm talking about that is the limiting belief could be, you know what? I'm just not disciplined enough to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's if you're saying that, what I would say is think about the times in your life when you have shown discipline. I'm sure there are multiple examples and scenarios in your life where you had to show discipline. So the truth is, you are a disciplined person. The truth is, like we always say, you can do hard things because you've done hard things before. And the fun part is when you do hard things more often than not, it gets easier and easier to do, quote, hard things, which really they're not hard things. It's because remember, it's always hard, easy. It's never easy, hard. And so by doing more hard things, it becomes easier and easier to do said hard things. The eating thing too, and for some people, they're like, well, I'm not maybe eating my best right now. But you think about if you do travel a lot and you're using those excuses, think about how many times throughout the year you're just kind of throwing caution to the wind with your nutrition. And that adds up over weeks, months, years, even going back to the time thing. I can tell you what you don't have time for. You don't have time to be sick, diseased, unhealthy, medicated, and diagnosed with some chronic illness. You definitely have time to be healthy, but if you don't have time to be healthy, disciplined, committed to the things that you tell yourself, you definitely won't have time for the aftermath or the chronic disease and illness.
Yeah, what really changed things for me with the discipline thing was at the beginning of the year when I asked myself, and I always ask God, or not myself, but I ask God, okay, what's going to be my word for the year? What's going to be my intention for the year? And this year's word was discipline. So as I looked more into even what the word discipline means, where if you look at the 12 disciples, right? That's where that's the part of the definition of that is really learning. So they were learning, the disciples were learning from Jesus, but they were learning based on his actions. And then part of that learning was them also then applying and then taking action, because just like you said, the more we take action in that, the easier that becomes. And it's the other people that go, wow, that person is just a really disciplined person.
Or I could never be like that person. Limiting belief.
Limiting belief, right? So even as we were, away, now I've disciplined, or I've grown into, because I was doing it even when it was uncomfortable, is to making sure that I'm waking up by 5 a.m. in the morning. I'd kind of let that go a little bit last year. And so I've been waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning. So even while we were gone, I was waking up at 6 a.m. because they were an hour early, but I made sure that I got up at 6 a.m. And so here's and I haven't talked to you about this yet. So here's what I also then did is for me, it was hard for me to be able to go to sleep before like 11:30, even though I wanted to make sure that I was in bed by 10 and asleep by 10:30. And so because it was an hour ahead, well, we were in bed and asleep, literally by 10:30, which would have been 9:30 here. So I stayed with that. So by 9:30 last night, I was in bed in order to be able to make sure that I got the sleep that I needed. And so rather than said, my story before could have been a limiting belief is I'm a night person, or I am a night owl, right? Versus a morning person. The problem with me is I was a night owl and a morning person, right? So when it comes to trying to get as much sleep as possible, that doesn't work out very well. So I was in bed last night by 9:30, asleep by 10 o'clock. And I'll now continue that because I'm growing and expanding, rather than saying, hey, I'm just not disciplined enough to do that. So again,
and if you're not
beliefs.
And if you're not disciplined enough, that once again, that is the story that you keep telling yourself. But I always like to go back to the Bible too, where God talks about how he doesn't give us a spirit of fear, right? 'Cause that's really what ultimately it boils down to. It's fear-based. He gives us not a spirit of fear, but a power of love and of sound mind. And sound mind really is discipline.
And he says in that same statement, he says self-control.
There you
the
go.
discipline.
So a lot of times it's not maybe what you feel like doing. Maybe it's not something that you think that you can do, but you can do it, right? Not to jump on in a pulpit today, but here I am. So not just, God says we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So all things are possible. You can do all things if you really know that you're committed to something bigger than just how you feel in the moment. And discipline, it really is doing the things that you should be doing in order to create the foundation of where you're wanting to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Kathy, you brought up a great one, by the way, on the limiting beliefs. In fact, we're on the same page because that was one of the things that we had written down to talk about. And she says, I don't think it'll work for me. Again, another limiting belief.
Yes.
And that was the way I had written it down was, hey, I've tried everything and nothing works.
Right. Maybe everything you've tried hadn't worked because you're the limiting factor because of your belief systems, right?
Yeah,
it's user error, right? Let's take, once again, pulling all responsibility back to yourself, not being the victim, right, in your situation, but being the actual agent of change because you're no longer going to keep believing all the BS you keep telling yourself. And you're the only one believing it, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah, and a great practical way to be able to overcome that is to put yourself in a new zip code. And what that means is surround yourself by people who have what it is that you want. Surround yourself by people who are doing the thing that actually works, and then start doing the thing that they're doing, which is why we love our Happy Healthy group, our VIP members that are even on with us live right now, because you know what? That's a zip code of people who it has worked for. That's why when people come into our metabolism program, immediately they're surrounded by these people that have all gotten the results that they're wanting and can be able to help them, to be able to support them, who aren't going to ridicule them for asking to have their food seed oil free or to eat the things that they're eating, right? And so it really, that right there is a huge one. It's making sure that you have that support and you can see that somebody else has done it. We always say that you're most well equipped to help the person who you used to be. And I feel like, God allows you to be able to overcome those challenges, overcome those limiting beliefs so that you can now help others with those same limiting beliefs overcome their challenges. And hey, look, here's the thing, sometimes the soil may not be ready for the seed, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you stop planting those seeds, because as many times as we've been, for example, to this specific event here and been around different people, we continue to keep on planting those seeds. And these are people who think that they know health and they think that what they're doing is the answer, but they're saying, hey, you know what? I've tried all these things and nothing's working. The more times we plant these seeds, the more times we I guess it increases the likelihood that eventually when that seed or that soil is ready, then it can be planted.
Yeah, it's kind of the John Maxwell quote, right? That famous one where if you can't change the people around you, change the people around you, right?
Yeah.
Be the coffee bean. If you don't know the coffee bean story, it's a powerful story about changing the people around you. Be that person. When we show up anywhere, to dinner, at events, we're changing the people around us in a great, great way. So that's really going back to that personal responsibility, Dr. Rob, of, taking that full accountability for your life, taking accountability, taking captive of your thoughts, of the words that you're speaking to yourself, and then really also holding yourself accountable to what you say. Are you really establishing integrity with yourself with what you're saying and then following through? Because I really don't think that if you keep saying one thing and then keep lying to yourself and keep letting yourself down over and over and over and over, that's a very vicious cycle. I've done that before at times in my life. I don't want to go down that cycle ever again. I want my word to mean something to myself, to the people around me, to establish integrity. Because if you lose integrity with yourself, what do you even have left?
It's over.
Yeah, it's over.
If you do that. So I love now, even when we show up at these events, we're the experts who help the experts.
Yeah.
To
The
have,
experts.
Yeah, we're the experts when it comes to helping people be metabolically healthy. And I love that. And so that's who, that's who our group gets. That's who you get when you're listening to us, is how to be able to get metabolically healthy. So I think the first step in that is you've got to overcome and conquer these limiting beliefs, these lies that you've been telling yourself, because you know what? That's exactly what they are, as our lies. Even some of those people that are like, you know what? Well, I can't, here's a limiting belief, and I'll just throw this one out there, is I can't afford to be healthier. Organic food costs a lot of money. But you know what? I think that's rooted in this belief here. We're going deep right now. I think that's more rooted in the belief that you feel like, you know what? I'm not worth that. I'm not worthy of really being healthy. I'm not worthy of the investment to be healthier, because you're also going to be that same person who is going to pay on the other side of that.
Yeah, you don't save the money.
By choosing those options that aren't healthy for you. And you know what? It's like that saying goes, when you have your health, you have 1,000 wishes, and when you lose your health, you only have one.
And we know.
And
we know that's our story. When you lose your health, there isn't any amount of time and money and resources you won't allocate to get it back, which is just proof that having your health and the freedom to live your life and choose these choices that you're making is your number one value. There is nothing greater. You definitely aren't taking it with you. That is for sure. And so that's why investing in yourself is key. In fact, this podcast is reminding me almost of the podcast that was not recorded on Sunday, when we were tackling all of these limiting beliefs with a couple of key leaders in the Maha Movement, and how we were talking about health. And obviously, if you're around us, the conversation's always going to go down that road. Shocking. I didn't really want to talk about the Super Bowl. I didn't really want to talk about,
we talked about the Super Bowl and the bullcrap ads that were in it for like Pfizer and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about leading into it. That was before. That was on Sunday. Yeah, but obviously, but that's a whole separate podcast we could do.
Sure.
But it was interesting, when we're talking about this, and really you start hearing what people tell themselves. These are all the things that we were hearing from two key leaders that are a part of the Maha Movement. And we was able to kind of knock those down one at a time and have really healthy discourse around this topic. And when you do that, don't be afraid to do that, by the way. And they really came to their own conclusion of like, you know what? You're right. And it's not that we were right. The truth is always right. And the truth is, you investing in yourself, you being your happiest, healthiest version, is really your best way to honor God back and be your best, for God to use you in this biggest capacity possible while you're here on earth. I mean, the story has been written, but what is your role in that story? And I want to be a full participant.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, you know what? Don't beat yourself up as well. If you've got limiting beliefs, hey, you know what? That right there makes you a human being. Yeah, okay, congratulations. You are a human being.
Welcome to the human life experience.
Yeah, exactly. We're human beings. We've got limiting beliefs and all kinds of other areas of our lives. Yeah. And so, but when it does come to this issue that really is an epidemic, which is poor metabolic health, obesity. It's literally it is an epidemic. That's where we can be able to help you with that. And you know what? Take action. We've got so many different ways for you to be able to find out how you're doing metabolically, and give you solutions to those things, whether it be if it's a gut health issue, if it's you've got a poor metabolic foundation. What I would say to you is go over to metabolismscore.com, find out where your metabolism is, and then we'll give you steps and show you how to be able to overcome that. We also have a challenge that's coming up next week. As a matter of fact, we're going to go 3 days, spend 3 days with you, literally giving you the steps to overcoming poor metabolic health. So if you are that person who you just don't feel like you have the energy that you should at this point in your life, or it's been getting harder as you've been getting older to be able to keep the weight off, or if you're that person that you're like, you know what? I used to look this way and now I look this way. I don't know how to get back, but I know I want to get my sexy back.
Yeah.
It's going to be for you. If you feel like you've lost your confidence and that is you, we're going to take you through that, give you our best stuff to be able to do that. But that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're here because we feel like God has put us here as the people that are really going to help this world be metabolically healthier.
Yeah, there's like and the more people we talk to, there's almost like this epidemic amount of people too that are really, they're so close, Dr. Rob.
Oh, yeah.
They're on the right path. They're asking the right questions. They're taking accountability. And they're that person that's that 20 to 30 pounds off and they just can't crack the code, which interestingly enough is our average weight loss when somebody works with us in our metabolism program. That weight loss is happening in around 4 to 6 weeks. But the irony is it's kind of like that person that's working so hard and they get right up to the point where they're about to finally realize the answer and then they quit. So if you're that person that you are working hard, kudos to you. It should be hard, but sometimes it doesn't have to be as hard as you're making it. Let us help make this way easier for you to navigate you and show you what we've now done with over 10,000 people from all over the world, help them regain metabolic freedom. Yeah, definitely go to metabolismscore.com. That's the easiest place to start. And winners know the score, and the score doesn't lie.
What would you say, and you just said it right now, it just made me think of this, is for those people who are like, that they're like one step away. What would you say is our greatest superpower?
Our greatest superpower? I don't know. Where are you leading me down this road?
Well, it's something that I actually...
Too stupid to quit?
That's the one right there.
That's like, that is my superpower. That is our superpower. Yeah, too stupid to quit.
Yeah, so we'll help you get over that hump because we are most well equipped to help those people that we used to be.
Yes.
And we don't quit, especially when it comes to helping you get healthier and living a better life.
Definitely a journey.
Yep. So thanks for listening to the podcast today.
Yep.
Tune in again next week. Our episodes drop by Thursday and of every single week, unless we've got an extra one on there. So we've got a couple of
new podcast dropping today we had with Brenda. So I'm excited about that. Another person in the metabolic space. I love that. So stay connected, guys. And we love you. Appreciate you. Thanks for today. And as always, like, share, review. Guys, give us a review. If you're liking any of this content, give us a review. Let us know what you're liking. If you've got questions, things you want us to take on, topics, hit us up there as well on Instagram at the H2 Life, the H2 Life. Let us know what you're up to. We love you guys so much and thank you.
There you go. Make it a great week.
Thanks for listening to the Happy, Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram at the H2 Life or on YouTube and Facebook at the Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.